Having both together is almost like siblings in a family or something. I want to, you know me a little bit more, Senator Kyl and Senator McCain. We've had some interviews on the phone. Let me just flat out say, when you guys are trying to sleep at night, what is the main concern that you see? Not what's on the internet, not what's the public talking points or whatever, but what you legitimately worry about most when you go to bed and you try to get a good night's sleep about this country.
Well, I confess there are times when I really have not gotten a good night's sleep worrying about some things. Right after 9/11, I think we all had some sleepless nights, and there was a lot of concern about what we were going to be doing about that. I will also confess to you that during this health care debate, I am so worried that this bill could pass because of what it will do to our country if it does, that I have spent a lot of nights, or part of nights, thinking, what is the argument against this? How do I talk about that? How can we stop it? And that may not sound quite right, but the reality is that does bother me a lot. I think there are very few things we could do in this country that would be more harmful than that. First, because it spends so much money, mortgages our kids' future, but secondly, because it puts government in between us and our doctor, and eventually will result in the rationing of health care. And I don't want that for my family, because I think I have a duty to provide for their health, and I want to be able to do it the best I can without the government telling me what I can and can't do.
And you've told me many times elections have consequences. And when people say, how can you let this happen in the last couple of years? Senator McCain, what do you worry most about?
I think obviously we worry about our nation's security in this struggle against radical Islamic extremism. We know on Christmas Day how close we came to another attack that would have inflicted great casualties on the United States. But I worry about the health care issue. And by the way, I'd like to point out that I can see why Jon would be kept awake on the health care issue, because his responsibility is to keep all of us Republicans together.
Yeah, good luck.
And for the last year, Jon has kept all 40 and now 41 of us together. I mean, a remarkable job in keeping someone once described Jon's job as keeping frogs in a wheelbarrow, or herding cats, or either one. But so I can see why Jon would worry about it, because there were several times where the president and the Democrats tried to pick off a Republican or two. That's all they had to do in order to jam this through. And the other thing that bothers both of us, and bothers me, of course, is the debt that we've laid on future generations of Americans. We have literally committed generational theft by running up deficits of unprecedented proportions, which there's no really way out of. And so that part bothers me. Greatness of America is that we've always passed on to the next generation a nation better off than the one we inherited. With this $14 trillion debt and Medicare and Medicaid, Medicare and Social Security deficits of incredible proportions, I'm not sure we're going to be able to do that this time.
What's different now with tea parties and with the internet now, 10 years of, I would say, intense criticism that you guys would never have? I used to joke when we were in TV that I wish I did TV before the VCR was invented, because that had to be easier. You guys, I mean, let me be blunt with Senator McCain. You're, by any definition, a war hero. Any definition. Your worst Democratic enemy, whatever, has to give you that. And then suddenly, in the last couple of years, people start saying, oh, is he conservative enough for this, or he's too soft on the border, whatever. You read the internet, or maybe you don't if you're lucky. What, on a personal level, can that be like? And I know you're going to say I'm a servant and the right things, but that's got to be crazy. Your life had to change overnight almost.
Well, it certainly hurts whenever you get criticism. I mean, we're all human beings. But I would point out, I also look back on the fact that I was able to be the Republican nominee of the party, and also people of Arizona voted for me in the last presidential election. And so, but I also understand that in this election upcoming, I have to earn every vote. And I've started working hard right after I lost the presidential election, and I'll continue to work hard. And frankly, I'm proud of the job that Jon and I are doing in the United States Senate in leadership roles. And so, look, I'm working hard, but I'm also confident of re-election victory.
Well, and I know it's difficult, and my credit and fault, I guess, in life is I'm always putting myself in someone else's shoes. I'm betting that the toughest part of your jobs is when no one's looking, when you're at that late night boring meeting at 11 o'clock at night somewhere, the one that's not getting everyone debating it around the country, but that you have to do and you gladly do it. That stuff doesn't get the attention. I go to both your websites when you show prep, and you see all the bills and how do you live in a soundbite world? I mean, that's what it really comes down to. Where I could go on the radio tomorrow and stir up something crazy, and everywhere you go, they'll shout it at you. I mean, how?
It is what it is, but I would like to mention John oftentimes has got a late night phone call to some Republican senator that he has to keep within our agenda. So I'm glad I don't have his job. It's the toughest that there is. But the communications have changed, okay? And you're talking about all the bad side of it. I agree. And there's instant news now and all that. But I think a seminal moment in Iran's history was when people all over the world saw a young woman named Neda bleed to death in the street in Tehran. That was due to the kind of communications that wasn't possible 10 years ago. So it can also be a great force for good, not only in the United States, but around the world. Let me tell you one brief vignette, if I could. I Twitter at 1.74 million people follow me on Twitter. I was in the Kurdish area of Iraq. City is called Erbil. I meet with the prime minister of the Kurdish area, and a week before I had been hiking in Canyon de Chelly with my Marine son Jimmy, and we had Twittered and put out the pictures. And he said, "Oh yeah," he said, "Weren't you walked in the meeting? Weren't you in a canyon in Arizona with your son Jimmy a week or so ago? I follow you on Twitter." Now that's a guy in the Kurdish areas of Iraq. So there is some incredible aspect of this that is remarkable means of spreading information.